And when we talk about the economy, it's not only the grotesque level of income and wealth inequality, it's not only the unacceptably high levels of unemployment. When we talk about the economy today, we have got to understand that tens of millions of Americans are working in wages which are totally inadequate. Now, I know that Governor Walker may disagree. But to my mind, the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour is a starvation wage which must be raised. Must become a living wage, which means $15 an hour over the next few years. Now, I don't think it is a terribly radical idea to say that in America, if somebody works 40 hours a week, that that person should not be living in poverty. A living wage should not only be fair, it should be equitable. There is no excuse for women making 78 cents on the dollar compared to men. And let me congratulate President Obama for doing something that is long overdue and making sure that millions of working people finally get time and a half when they're working 50 or 60 hours a week. That's an issue that many of us have been working on, and I'm glad the President came through. Now, some of you may know, many of our Republican friends are very deeply concerned about family values. They just, they love families. And their view of family values is that women should not be able to control their own bodies. Their view of family values is that women should not be able to purchase the contraceptives they need. You know, when I say these things, it really is hard to believe. Can you imagine? And their view of family values is that gay people should not be able to get married. Now that is their view, their warped view of family values. Let me give you another view of family values. I have 4 kids. I got 7 beautiful grandchildren. My wife is here. We've been married for 27 years. I believe and you believe in the importance of family. And that is why, because we believe in real family values, the United States must end the international embarrassment of being the only major country on earth that does not guarantee workers paid medical and family leave. That does not guarantee workers paid sick time or paid vacation time. So let me talk a little bit about family values. Today in Wisconsin or in Vermont, a woman is having a baby, one of the most meaningful and important moments in her life, father is standing right beside her. But because that family does not have a lot of money, that woman will be forced to go back to work in a week or 7 or 8 days. That is not a family value. In every other major country, women, regardless of their incomes, and the father as well, are able to stay home with their baby, get to know their baby in the most important moments of their baby's life. That is a family value, and that is why I will fight for 12 weeks of paid family and medical leave. Let me touch on another issue that is almost never talked about at all, but it is an issue of enormous consequence. And that is as a result of the collapse of the American middle class. What we are seeing is people in our country working incredibly long hours. Incredibly long. I go around the country and I look in the eyes of people. They are tired, they're exhausted, they are stressed out because they are working and working and working. I'll tell you briefly a story. A couple of years ago, outside a grocery store in Burlington, Vermont, I met a woman. And she came up to me and she said, you know, Bernie, my husband and I have 1 kid, but we would like to have more kids. But I'm working 3 jobs, he's working 2 jobs, and we do not believe that we can be the parents we should be. So we're putting off having more kids. That story is being told all over America. Today, the American people are working longer hours than the people of any other major country on earth. The Japanese are very hardworking people. We work 137 hours a year more than the Japanese. We work 260 more hours a year than the British, and we work almost 500 hours a year more than our good friends in France. What can we say about the French? Now here's the point, and I say this in order to put where we are today in a broader context. When we were kids in school and we read history textbooks, we saw pictures in those books of workers out on the streets demonstrating 100 years ago, 1910, 1912, 1914. Those workers held up these big banners and the signs. And you know what those signs said? They said, we want a 40-hour work week. What they said is we are not beasts of burden. We want time with our families. We want time for education. We need time for leisure. That was 100 years ago. Today, unbelievably, 85% of working men and 66% of working women work more than 40 hours a week. 100 years have come and gone, and we have lost ground. Now, at the very least, what the United States must do, and I will do as president, is to make sure that every family in this country gets at least 2 weeks off of paid vacation. Now, when pollsters go out and they ask the American people what is uppermost on their mind, what are they most worried about? The answer always is a 4-letter word called jobs, J-O-B-S. Yep. When you have real unemployment of 11%, youth unemployment over 30%, now is the time for a federal jobs program to create millions of decent paying jobs. In virtually every state in this country, our infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, water systems, wastewater plants, our rail system, our levees, and our dams need an enormous amount of work. Now is the time to invest in rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure. A $1 trillion. A $1 trillion investment will create and maintain some 13 million jobs, and that is exactly what I intend to do. But when we talk about jobs, it's not just the need to create millions of decent paying jobs. It is the necessity to end job loss as a result of disastrous trade policies. You are looking at a senator and former congressman who voted against NAFTA, against CAFTA, against permanent arbitration. And I will do everything that I can to defeat this disastrous TPP. And when we talk about rebuilding the American middle class, we're talking about rebuilding the American trade union movement. There are millions of workers who would like to join unions today but are unable to do so because of illegal actions on the part of their employers. In my view, if 50% plus one of workers in a bargaining unit sign a card asking for a union, they should have that union. When we talk about greed, when we talk about recklessness, when we talk about illegal behavior, these are just another word, another phrase to describe Wall Street. In my view, and this is a hugely important issue for the future of our economy, it is time to break up the largest financial institutions in this country. Wall Street cannot continue to be an island unto itself, gambling trillions in risky financial instruments while expecting the public to bail it out. In my view, and we've introduced legislation to deal with this, if a bank is too big to fail, it is too big to exist. When we talk about issues of jobs, or education, or the environment, or any other significant issue, they all are related to another issue which undermines everything else that's going on in America. And I think you in Wisconsin are very familiar with this issue. So let me be as blunt as I can be when I tell you what you already know. And that is that as a result of the disastrous Supreme Court decision in the Citizens United case, the American political system has been totally corrupted, and the foundations of American democracy are being undermined. What the Supreme Court said in so many words is they said to the wealthiest people in this country, they said, okay guys, you already own much of the economy. Now we are going to give you the opportunity to own the United States government, and that is what they are trying to do right now. Let me be as clear as I can be, and that is that as President of the United States, I will not nominate any justice to the Supreme Court who has not made it crystal clear that he or she will vote and work to overturn this disastrous system. Overturning Citizens United is terribly important. Passing a disclosure law is very important. But long term, if we want to see a vibrant democracy where people of any political point of view who want to be in public service can get up and run for office without having to beg rich people for money, we need to move to public funding of elections. Let me give you an example of how bad the situation is today. According to media reports, which I think are accurate, the Koch brothers alone, second wealthiest family in America, a family that wants to eliminate Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, public education, and virtually every piece of legislation passed since the 1930s which protect working families. This one family will be spending in this election cycle close to $1 billion. And their job and what their money is about is to elect candidates who make the rich richer and everybody else poorer. But when you have one family spending close to $1 billion, which is more money than either the Democratic Party or the Republican Party will spend, this is not democracy, this is oligarchy, and we have got to end it. That American democracy means one person, one vote. American democracy means that we try to have the highest voter turnout in the world. American democracy does not mean voter suppression or the gerrymandering of districts. I think everybody here knows that we are living in a very competitive global economy. And that if we are going to succeed, if our economy is going to do well in years to come, we need to have the best educated workforce in the world. to my mind, it is basically insane, and I use that word advisedly, and counterproductive to the future of this country when we have today hundreds of thousands of bright, young, qualified people who want to get a higher education, they want to go to college, but they are locked out because their families don't have enough money. And that is not only pulling the ladder out from under these young people who want to work hard and make it to the middle class. It is not the way you create a growing and vibrant economy when we need doctors and scientists and nurses and teachers and all kinds of well-educated workers. But the issue goes beyond the high cost of college and people not being able to get into college. Today, we have a situation where we have millions of young and not so young people who are shouldering horrendous college debt decade after decade. A year or so ago, I met with some folks, there was a young woman there whose dream it had been to go to medical school and practice primary care for low-income people, exactly the kind of physicians that we need. And that's what she did. And as a result, she left school $300,000 in debt for the crime of going to medical school so she can work with low-income people. Then I thought that that was really quite extreme. And I was in Iowa a couple of months ago, and I mentioned this fact, and a young woman came up to me after my remarks. She said, "Senator, I just graduated dental school, $400,000 in debt." Now that is why, and all over this country, young people, $50,000, $60,000 in debt. Talked to somebody recently spending 20% of her income paying back student debt. People can't get married, they can't have kids, can't buy a house because of the student debt. So we've introduced legislation, which I will push through as president, that does two things. Number one, it will make every public college and university in America tuition free. The importance of that concept is not just for kids in the 11th or 12th grade who want to go to college. The importance of that concept is that it will resonate with kids in the 5th grade and the 6th grade. Right now, all over America, there are young kids who may not know it intellectually, but they know it emotionally. Their parents didn't go to college. The kids in their neighborhood don't go to college. Why should they study hard? Why should they do their homework if they're not going to be able to get a higher education or make it into the middle class? That's wrong. So we are saying to every kid in America, if you study hard, if you do your work, you will in fact be able to get all of the education you need, regardless of the income of your family. It is absolutely unconscionable that we have folks today who are paying interest rates of 8, 9, 10% on student debt, which they are stuck with for decades, yet they can go out and refinance their home for 2 or 3%. So what we've got to do is allow people with student debt to refinance. We've got to get the government out of the business of profiteering off of student debt as well. And when cut student interest rates by more than half. Now, when we talk about the major issues facing not only our country, but the world, it is absolutely essential that we talk about our responsibilities as human beings, as adults, as parents, and understand that there is nothing more important than leaving this planet in a way that is habitable for our kids and our grandchildren.